By United Dairy Farmers. Great to have you with us on this Monday. Normally, we have James Rapien with us on Friday to talk about the Bengals and their preparation for a game, and perhaps we'll do that later this week, although I know James will be traveling down to Dallas on Friday, so we'll see. But he's kind enough to join us right now. James, we've been sitting here. First of all, thanks for taking the time today. I know it was asking a lot. So thank you, sincerely.
Of course, no problem.
Look, I've sat here and hammered Zach Taylor for an hour about multiple things that happened in that game yesterday. I'm not going to ask you to do the same. But let me just walk through with you the whole layer of issues and his reaction after the game, because you were down there, as it pertains to the non-challenge on the Jamar Chase touchdown, which unquestionably was a touchdown and would have been overturned, the call on the field. I think everybody agrees it would have been overturned. The ball broke the plane, has nothing to do with his foot. The ball was to the goal line side of his foot, further out. It was a touchdown. So you start with that. That's number one. Then number two, the comments made after the game by Zach Taylor saying, yeah, wish we would have looked at it, wish we would have challenged it. We didn't. And then he says, but we were in a hurry for the next snap. Now, unless I'm getting something wrong here, and please correct me because I'm wrong all the time, the clock had stopped because Chase went out of bounds, right? You're roughly at 2:50 there, okay? So what is the hurry to snap the next play at second down from the 1 yard line when theoretically you like your chances of scoring there? We know ultimately they didn't, but you certainly like your chances. You take your chances. And the quicker you score, if you score, means more time when the Steelers get the ball back to potentially go down the field and kick a field goal to beat you. Can you, from where you sit and you talk to everybody after the game, you've had a night's sleep in this morning to digest it all. What are your thoughts on that particular series of events?
I don't know how you don't challenge it because it was such a critical moment in the game. And even in real time, and I get it, where he was on the field, and that's what he was talking about, it's hard for him to see. Well, that's why you have coaches in the booth that have a similar view that we had in the press box. And it's like, oh, he didn't score? I thought he scored. And slow it down, right? He would be on the headset right away, just say, all right, slow it down here. Let's take another look at this. Slow down, slow down, slow down. I don't know why you don't slow it up a little bit because you're in such a rush. And, oh, we're on the 2-inch line. We could just punch it in. It's not that simple. This offensive line and this offense has struggled in short yardage situations last year. And so this idea that, oh, you're going to just be able to get that half a yard, are you sure? So you can't take that part for granted, especially because Chase made a hell of a play and it should have been a touchdown. And if they had scored there was enough time, as we know, for the defense to get a stop with the way they were playing and get the ball back to Burrow. So now we're not talking about long snapper issues. We're not talking about field goal kickers and special teams gaffes because they might have went down and scored again anyways, which they obviously did to force overtime, and it obviously should have been the game winner anyway. So, yeah, I don't understand why they didn't challenge it there. And the worst part to me, Tom, is not only did they not challenge it, they run up to get that mix-in play. Now the clock is running, and then they burn a timeout anyways. So you had both challenges, and then you lose a timeout about 20 seconds later. It's just tough. Tough in the moment and certainly tough today.
James, did you happen to be standing there when Wilcox made his statements after the game about them practicing in punting situations, some of his snapping, but that he wished, and I'm paraphrasing, that he wished they had done more of that in field goal or point after touchdown situations?
I wasn't there for that exact. I saw those comments.
Yeah.
And we had some, but yeah, I saw that. And look, it didn't look like he had practiced those, right? I mean, that's the thing. Zach Taylor after the game said, yeah, he's practiced them all the time. I haven't seen that, but admittedly, I also don't pay attention to the specialists a ton. So,
You're right.
could that have happened? Maybe. But yeah, it certainly didn't look like it from what we saw, and it obviously cost them.
Thoughts on the offensive line, James? I mean, look, you can sit there and say, they allowed the 7 sacks. I made the comment that Pro Football Focus, who does a great job studying this stuff, said really 4 of those are on the line. The other 3 are quote unquote on Joe Burrow trying to make a play. And look, that's what he does, and it's what makes him great. But your thoughts overall on that group?
Certainly leaving something to be desired. I don't think it's as bad as most fans are saying today. I don't think it's as good as the Bengals were hoping it would be. And they were playing a really good defensive front. But yeah, Joe Burrow wasn't seeing the field as well as he normally would and does, and especially early in the game. And that contributed to it. That first sack by Cam Hayward, he just held onto the ball too long on the first play from scrimmage. I think that's on Burrow as much as anything. So the sacks aren't necessarily my main concern, but what is the functionality of the offense. Is Joe Mixon not going off? Because I thought this was going to be a big Joe Mixon game. The Bengals not able to push the ball down the field when they needed to. If you told me they were down 17-3, I would have said, oh, okay, well, Jamar Chase is going to make a big play deep downfield. Well, the Steelers didn't allow that to happen. And part of it was Burrow wasn't seeing the field great in coverage. The other part was the offensive line didn't hold up well. And the one that surprised me the most, Jonah Williams. I mean, Alex Highsmith had 3 sacks, was a terror. As good as TJ Watt was and Cam Hayward was, Highsmith was just as dominant and made some huge plays. And Jonah Williams is a guy you're banking on. I expected Cordell Volson to have some struggles in his first NFL start. Didn't expect Jonah Williams to be as bad as he was or as inconsistent as he was on Sunday.
Okay, I want to ask you what the Bengals do in a couple of situations. First of all, T. Higgins. I'm guessing I could be incorrect in this assessment because I'm not down there while he's getting diagnosed. Do you suspect he doesn't play Sunday in Dallas?
It's tough with concussions. I think the 1 week turnaround is always difficult-ish, depending on how severe the concussion is. I think there's a shot that he plays, but it's really tough to say right now. And it's also really realistic to expect them not to have him for Dallas. So I'd say 50-50, but it wouldn't shock me either way.
All right, what do they do about the long snapper situation? Harris is going to be out. Is he going to be out all year long? That's a pretty significant injury. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I know they have a long snapper on the practice squad. Is that the natural sequence of events, is to give that young man a shot?
It is. Yeah, Cal Adamitis, an undrafted rookie out of Pittsburgh. And the good news here, Tom, is that he spent the entire offseason with the Bengals. So he was competing with Clark Harris for that starting job. I never really felt like Harris was in danger, but it's not like Cal Adamitis played poorly. And it's nothing that he did wrong, really. So to me, this shouldn't be a long-term issue. That's why you keep him around on the practice squad just in case. And so I expect him to be the long snapper this week in Dallas. And I honestly think he's going to be good at that job. And it's not going to be a situation like we saw yesterday where we're talking about, Clark Harris being down and it being such a devastating injury, killing the special teams that the Bengals usually are good at.
Yeah, Harris has done a great job in his role with that franchise for so very, very long. I don't understand the whole the dynamics of a team making big trades once you start a season. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk to somebody from Dallas a little bit later on about this. But if you're the Cowboys, I guess, James, one, knowing that Dak Prescott is now going to miss anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, they look terrible even when he was in the game. They look like the typical overrated Prescott, Dallas Cowboys, blah, blah, blah. But now he's out for a long time. Do you think there's any chance that they could or would or are able to go out and make a trade for a guy, say, like Jimmy Garoppolo?
They should be interested in it if they have any plans on winning in 2022. I mean, is Cooper Rush going to be able to make it work with CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, and a bunch of just dudes? I mean, there was no real running game. The offensive line had some issues yesterday, and Tampa Bay is a really high-end team. It's a really good defensive line with Akeem Hicks and a bunch of guys like that. But yeah, I think so. I think you have to. Look, you can't expect a guy like Cooper Rush to hold the fort down for half a season. 1 game, 2 games, maybe, but whether it's somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo, who does have a no trade clause now, so I think he would have to waive that, and is he willing to with that new contract with the 49ers? I'm not sure, but you're going to have to address the situation somehow. I mean, Cooper Rush was a practice squad elevation. He wasn't even on the 53-man roster. So the Cowboys are going to add a quarterback. Do they go big game hunting, or do they just add a veteran free agent? That's the question.
Well, look, I've done a ton of the Dallas Cowboys games through the year on Fox, and I know you've covered a ton of, and you know all about the whole workings down there in Dallas. It's unique in and of itself on so many levels, especially with that fan base, a larger-than-life owner who's taken his shot, certainly deservedly so, after winning the Super Bowl a couple of times when he first bought the team. Now he's a general manager. They've had all kinds of issues. I thought they were very arrogant in the offseason in regard to, as you pointed out, their skill position players and their offensive line to not really address some of those issues. There is no way, and I love your terminology there, there is no way the Cowboys can't, is there, James, not go big game hunting on the – this is 1 game in Dallas, Texas. I mean, if you think we're losing our minds here in Cincinnati over yesterday's game against the Steelers, it is not in the same galaxy, I'm sure, of what is going on down there in Dallas, Texas right now.
Exactly. And it would be different if they had the skill players that they had in past years, and you're just throwing out a Michael Gallup and had Amari Cooper and Dalton Schultz at tight end and prime Zeke Elliott along with CeeDee Lamb. Then maybe, Rush could go 4-4. Well, they don't have that. You need a quarterback that's been there, done that. And I had my questions about Dak Prescott as is. And
yeah.
It didn't look good. You're right. It didn't look good last night, 3+ quarters before he got injured. So they have to. If they're playing to win this year, they have to. Now, they may get turned down. The 49ers might not want to give up Jimmy G, especially with what we saw from Trey Lance yesterday. But they have to do something. And just to tie the Bengals in, I think that's what makes the Bengals unique and on the right side of things. It's a skill players league now, as much as it is anything else, right? Jamar Chase, when the game was on the line, Burrow went to Chase multiple times, and it worked out. You need dudes that can make plays with the game on the line, and the Cowboys just don't have enough of them, and it's going to be even bleaker if Dak Prescott is really out 6 to 8 games.
Well, you're spot on. I think anybody that objectively, even if you're not a Bengals fan, you're not a Cowboys fan, or you are a fan with either team, if you were to sit back and take a couple of deep breaths, which I'm still trying to do after yesterday's game, you would certainly feel very good about the Bengals' chances for multiple reasons of righting the ship. Now all of a sudden you're going down to Dallas. You're not going to have Prescott. And they try to get to 1-1 before really the next couple of games, which look to be very, very winnable games they should win when you look at the schedule at the beginning of the year. But we thought that about yesterday's game. James, thank you so much for your time on short notice. You're totally on it. Everything that is Bengals at Sports Illustrated. What do you got going on this week for people to tune in, listen in, watch, read, any of the above?
We're going to have a ton on Cincinnati Bengals talk on YouTube, so I would start there. And as far as writing's concerned, we got multiple columns up, takeaways, really anything you need to know about yesterday's game at allbengals.com, and then daily on the Locked On Bengals podcast as well. So football's here, Tom. Win, lose, draw. We're covering it, so it's an exciting time.
Amen, brother. Great. Thanks so much, James, for your time. Look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that guy. I just sent him a text this morning, and it's really cool of him to do it, and we really appreciate it very, very much because he's all over everything as it pertains to the Cincinnati and the NFL in general. He's just on it.